Good afternoon, everybody. At least it's afternoon in Dundee, my part of the world. But if it's not, good morning, or good evening, or even good night, depending on where you are. It's Saturday. What's everybody up to today? In Dundee, it's been dull and largely overcast. Every now and then the sun comes out. They keep promising rain, but it hasn't happened yet. So I took a chance and put my laundry out on the clothesline out back. And as I did that, hung my washing, I flashed back to my childhood. Because my mom and the Hawkins family and quite a few families on East 148th Street, where I grew up, had clotheslines in the backyard. And I remembered my mom doing the laundry, only in the summer, because in the winter everybody used their dryers. And then she'd tell me, take the clothes out the washer and hang them outside. And I remember hating to do that. I hated doing it. Back then there was, no climate change, so we didn't have what we're experiencing now with the loss of insects. We had mosquitoes, we had big fat bees, big fat wasps, and they would hover around my head as I put the clothes on the line. And now, it occurs to me every time I hang up my washing how it's one of my favorite things to do. Especially, when they dry and then I bring them in and I just pick up my towels and bury my face in the towels or, my duvet covers or whatever because it all just smells so good. So, I've not been doing much today. Just chilling. You can probably tell I'm in cozy clothes. Whoever thought, that I would fall in love with tracksuits or jogging suits, but it's cozy. My plan was I was going to wake up to torrential rain and have an all bed day, but it never happened. So I got up and showered and did what I could with my hair and got dressed, did laundry, tidied up a bit, watered the plants. I checked the garden. I didn't water the garden because it doesn't need it. They're, still nice and damp and stuff. I have one plant that's dying, one of my lavender plants, and I believe when they came, because I had ordered them from ugarden.co.uk online, I remember in a previous video mentioning that I was very disappointed with the quality of the plants. And I did check the reviews, but there were only like 6 reviews where people said they were disappointed and the plant died. Well, I'm away to post the 7th one because one of them is doing okay and the other one just died. Maybe I'm not meant to have lavender. I don't know. So it's been a peaceful day. I had a nice breakfast. House is all tidy. And I've spent the day watching stuff on YouTube. I got up this morning as I normally do every day and watch the news. I watch BBC first, and then I watch the American news, and then I watch Al Jazeera. I watched something this morning, though, that was just so heartwarming on BBC Breakfast. It made me feel good. You may or may not be aware that there were a lot of deaths last week in terms of, so what we think of as celebrities, people you may have grown up with. The biggest one, the biggest one for me was Chuck Mangione, but the biggest one for most people was Ozzy Osbourne. And Ozzy would be second. I mean, I grew up with him, I've got the Paranoid album on vinyl. So, anyway, this morning on BBC Breakfast, they interviewed, it was Charlie State and my favorite, Naga Munchetty. They interviewed bandmate and Ozzy's best friend, Tony Iommi. And it was so heartwarming. And he was saying that he had just, never mind the fact that they had just finished the tour, when the tour ended, he had just spoken to Ozzy on the phone. And Naga Munchetty asked him, "You guys have been together for so long. Is it true that you really phoned each other every day? And after so much time, what do you talk about?" And he said, "Well, at our age, we always start out by talking about what hurts. Oh, my shoulder's playing up. Oh, my arthritis in my feet is really bad." And then we switch to, "So what's the weather like where you are?" And as he's just telling Naga that they basically just talk about mundane things. And sometimes they'll talk about, stuff from their past, reminisce, joke. You could see the emotion in his face. You could see he was struggling to not cry. And as I'm watching it, I'm thinking about, what I talk about with my friends, because it's true. If you have people that you have known all your life, the way I've known Sharon and Debbie and Eleanor, when I video call them, our conversations, they're always the same. First, what are you doing? How you feel? And when he was talking about we talk about what hurts, that's the first thing me and Sharon and Debbie talk about. Well, my arthritis is bad, and this is bad, and that's bad. And then I switch to the weather, because with me being in the UK and my childhood friends being in the US, and the US is being hammered right now by heat waves and floods and all kinds of horrendous stuff. We switch to the weather, and me and Eleanor and Debbie, and Sharon, we always end up back at our youth talking about silly things we did when we were young. And just yesterday when I was talking to Debbie, I reminded her of something she had forgotten about, and she went, "Oh my God, your memory is astonishing." My memory remains good. The body is kind of falling apart, but thank the Lord, the memory remains good. I remember everything. And that's been it for your girl for today. I've just been sitting here chilling and watching, I can't pronounce his name because I learned yesterday, again via Facebook, that the guy who founded the group from the 70s and 80s, Golden Earring, he passed away at the age of 77. I loved this group. Absolutely loved them. My favorite song being Twilight Zone. So I spent maybe an hour this morning watching the Twilight Zone video done by Golden Earring, the uncensored one. But it didn't make me sad, it just made me grateful that I grew up in the era in which I grew up, when music was not sampled, when it was real and true and authentic and original, because mostly everything now is sampled from somebody that came before. Anyway, that's it. I'm gonna go outside. The clothes have been out since 12:30, and it's maybe 3:30. And even though there's not been a lot of sun today, it's windy. There's a nice clothes drying breeze that's blowing, so they're probably dry. So I'm away to head out back and bring my clothes in and figure out what I want to have for my Saturday tea. I just popped in for my usual quickie, courtesy of Rochelle. Hi, Rochelle. And that's it. I hope you are all enjoying your weekend. Thanks as always for tuning in and mostly for engaging. Engagement has gone up, which delights me. I try to answer every comment that's posted. Anyway, thanks for tuning in and watching this. It brings me a lot of joy, these videos, and it's a lot of fun. So, until the next time, stay safe and live well. And that's your girl out.